This is Ben Bishop, creator of the Aggregate and Split Decision Comics, and you're listening to Top 5 Comics Podcast.
Welcome to Top 5 Comics Podcast, people talking about comics, pop culture, and events. Today with us we have Josh.
What up, what up, what up?
Also featuring CBS.
Hello.
And Rob. Hi.
All right, well, that's Rob, everybody. So today we are doing episode number 114. Oh, yeah. Book-wise, we're going to be going over, Iron Man. Invincible Iron Man, number 598. Then we'll be doing Plastic Man number 1. And we'll be doing Zero Jumper number 2 from Alterna Comics. And then follow that up with Justice League number 2. This is from the new Scott Snyder run. And then follow it up, or finish off. Well, last book will be X-Men Gold number 30. And then we're going to have an interview from the Denver Comic Con with Mairghread Scott. She's the author taking over Batgirl here in the near future. So that should be pretty fun. She wrote a bunch of Transformers stuff and has done a bunch of animated writing as well. So, depending on what you read or what you've seen, you can possibly watch episodes of things she's written. Cool lady. Anyhow, do we have any news today?
I didn't see a lot.
No?
Kirkman was saying that Walking Dead is going to be drastically different this next season.
Talking about the TV show?
Comparatively to the comics. But they said that last season and it didn't really pan out.
Well, at this point we're talking about Rick leaving, and if, what's her name? Lauren Cohen bounces too, then...
And Maggie becoming the governess.
Well, that's Maggie. If she only stays on for one more season and bounces, that means we'll have Rick gone, Maggie gone, Carl gone, Glenn gone. That leaves Daryl, which I know makes some people super happy, but...
Hopefully Maggie and Rick just choke each other to death. That's the way the show ends.
I think that'd be pretty questionable. I don't know about that. I have a feeling that what we'll really see is we'll see more merging of the two casts, because I guess on the Fear the Walking Dead, they killed a couple main cast characters too. Like the younger kid character, younger guy, which I guess he's got some other deal with some other show or movie or something, so he thinks he's going to become a Hollywood star too. I guess we'll see if that happens. It doesn't work so well when those people leave those shows. They don't usually blow up. You know, they go off and they do one movie and it's not even like a good movie, and then from there they're like, shit, I wasted my career. Not all of them. Don't get me wrong. We'll see.
Michael Douglas was talking about how he wants to do an Ant-Man prequel where he gets to be Ant-Man.
That seems like a weird choice.
Also, the Spider-Man kid supposedly leaked the name of the next Spider-Man movie.
Do you remember what he said?
Something about
Far From Home?
Far From Home, yeah. Sounds like a college movie.
Well, now, if they're going to return him from the dead and he's still out in space, it'd be like Spider-Man in space. That'd be kind of cool.
It's not going to be space. It's going to be college.
Sad day.
Sorry. That's what the first one was high school, second one's college. That's the way it's going to go.
Less anime action. That's too bad. Wah, wah, wah.
Well, no, if he was in space, it would be less anime.
Well, that's true, too.
It'd be way less
anime.
anime.
It would be Spider-Man in space, man. That's awesome.
That's not awesome.
On.
That doesn't make any sense.
That's where all movies go to die, is space. I just figured that out.
Except Machete. The new Machete is going to be in space, and that's going to make it the best one yet.
We definitely hope that it will.
Machete kills in space.
I'm pretty sure he just proved what you just said.
Yeah, I probably did. You probably just added to my statement.
Yeah.
Jason X. That's, Leprechaun.
That one was good, too.
It was funny. But it wasn't.
Jason in space.
Yeah.
I like that one.
No. I mean, his mask was shiny.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole cheerleader in the sleeping bag thing was pretty awesome, but that's like all that movie's remembered for.
That's what all the movies are remembered for.
No. He not in any other movie was his mask shiny like that. Or did he take a cheerleader in a sleeping bag and turn her into like a wiffle ball bat? That didn't happen in any other movies. Just that one.
Just him killing people.
Yeah.
And very interesting. He's just a really good killer. He's just probably the most unique. I think even he, like in his crazy, like monster rage state, like when I think he like takes a step back and like, wow, That was a good one. Good job. High fives himself.
Man, I don't remember that happening, but that would be funny if it did. I'm just saying, spaces where most serious like that go to die. I.e. the leprechaun. I mean, he went to the hood and even got after that. Then he went to space.
It's true.
Anyway, Rob, you got any news over there? No? We're floundering over here with nonsense, so. I mean, that Spider-Man title, that's pretty cool, so. I guess the Crow stuff got shut down, so Jason Momoa was pushing to, I don't know if people know this or not, was pushing to relaunch the Crow with him being the Crow. And apparently something between A and B stopped that from happening, so. I guess there's no longer a Crow Go? No? No Go the Crow? No? Just me? Okay.
Wah, wah, wah.
I'm sure you want. Oh, that would be a good place for it, actually.
Your love for Jason Momoa is like real uncomfortable.
It's no different than anything else. I mean, have you seen the man? He's impressive. Impressive. I don't think it's not that out of control. I mean, honestly, I had a chance to meet the dude in Denver and did not pursue it, so, which is fine. Not that I guess in hindsight it would have been fun, I guess. Should we talk about the Denver Comic Con at all, Rob? Save it for next episode.
So when you take pictures with people at a Comic Con, do you, like, is there like a strict hands-off policy, like you can't touch them?
Depends on the person.
Yeah.
Depends on the person. And, like, I haven't done a whole lot of staged photos. Like, most of the stuff that me and Rob did was all West Coast before that East Coast stuff started leaking into Comic Cons with the photo ops and conveyor belt high school yearbook stuff.
I mean, yeah, I know you guys met a ton of people over the years, and like a lot of those pictures are just like on the floor. Like you just guys, oh, look at so-and-so, let's take a picture. But I was just wondering, like, because I know, wasn't Shatner, wasn't he?
Yeah, Shatner was
massively hands-off, kind of.
Shatner was a no-touch, and so was, I remember being told that Stanley was the same way, but Stan's also, like, when he's really old and fragile. 90s. So, like, Eliza Dushku's that way, which I think depends on, I mean, she's really fragile, too, as a person. Like, she's small.
Well, I think some of the females, like, you can't be, some of them be like, okay, yeah, let's put your arm around me, and some of them you can't because you never know who's going to be gropey.
That's a good point.
Either way, I mean, it's kind of a safety thing. And then with the older, like Stanley or even Shatner, like those guys are real old and they're, what's it called? Your immune system? Probably real weak. You get the weaker the older you get, so.
No, it's true.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So, I was just curious. I'm sure Jason Momoa would be like, can you put me in a bear hug and that's the picture? That'd be.
I wonder how many people have been like, can you carry me? Because the dude's like, he's a big man. Size and height wise, he's just huge. So like, I can see people being like, can you pick me up? But I don't know if they ever did that or not, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, the only one I remember they're having a real, like, don't touch him or whatever thing was for Shatner, and that was the first time we did the kind of conveyor belt pictures.
Right.
So, James Earl Davies didn't care.
No.
He was touching whoever he wanted to touch.
it's true.
Sometimes probably too much.
It was kind of funny because like we were taking me, Rob, and Ross all got a picture with John Rhys Davies, and like he was flicking Ross's ear, and like I think, did he flick your ear too? No, it was just Ross. It was Ross. But like, yeah, he was pretty hands on. He was a decent dude though. That was cool. It's really funny because he's like, he was flicking my ear. And I don't know if he meant to, and I'm like, pretty sure he did. It is pretty funny. Poor Ross always gets picked on. Wah, wah, wah.
And you kind of tell Ross is kind of like gets freaked out by people touching him. So
that's possible. Yeah,
just thought it'd be funny.
It's possible. I mean, Davies just seems to be having fun in general. So it might just be how the dude is. Fun for the sake of being fun, or fun for himself. Both true, probably.
Probably.
Yeah. But yeah, Denver Comic Con this year overall was fun show. We should probably just do a Denver Comic Con review and make that a different episode. And we have young Joel around or something. Let's move on to the Iron Man, Rob.
Sure.
Just to let you know, there will be spoilers.
All right. Tell us the story about Iron Man number 5. Is it 89? Is that what I said?
98.
98. Reverse those two.
Yeah. So we got a writer, which is Brian Michael Bendis, with artist Stefan Casilio and Alexei Melvy. So we open up with one of the Quinjets flying around, and we got Captain America kind of telling everybody, we need to work together. We're all looking for Tony. So when you hear something, don't just go out on your own. Let everybody know.
And if you counter Dr. Doom, don't go to him by yourself.
Yeah. Make sure you're not facing off against him on your own. From there, we catch up with Riri Williams, who is trying to get her life back together ever since she's reclaimed the Ironheart costume. We're finding some deeper intrigue into that there's people who think they have more connection to where Tony is, and her into person is Blade.
Which is an awesome cameo. I don't see Blade very often.
And it's kind of the first time she's encountered him, and so she's pretty unfamiliar with him.
Well, yeah, when he shows up in her garage, he's like, I'm Blade. And she's like, what? He goes,
has he been in the Marvel U, recently?
Randomly.
Off and on, yeah.
They did a mini-series for him where he was connected to the Spirits of Vengeance, and him and Johnny Blaze and a couple other Hell-type characters were all teamed up.
Yeah, Sons of Midnight. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Blade shows up here and there. He's not been a huge mover and shaker, but he's been around. So then we kind of connect to one of the subplots that's been going on in this story, which is that Doom has been posing as Iron Man. He's trying to be a hero. But one of the things that's kind of come up is all the people that Doom's always kind of trash-talked, all the other villains that he's ever worked with, they've all realized, if he's going to be a hero, that means he has to act by heroes' rules, so he can't kill us anymore. And so the Hood and a handful of others have decided that, if he can't kill us, we should take advantage of that. And so they're all, ganging up on him to try to get to Doom's millions, basically.
His gold.
Yes. Whatever he's using to run the country of Latveria with. But it's kind of a crazy thing. You're really kind of poking the tiger there. Because Doom kills. Doom does kill, You're really just hoping on the idea that he's going to stick with his morals in this case.
He's not going to come back for revenge later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they all thought maybe they were going to get a chance to pop him and actually get done with it.
Well, that's definitely what the Hood thought.
Yeah.
Is that he would just take him out now. But as we got that all going on, we wound up finally having Friday, which is Tony Stark's AI, realize that she could track any of the suits. And so, one of the big things that's been going on is Tony's body was missing. They've been trying to figure out where his body went, so technically, probably a pretty good idea that he's in one of the suits.
Right. If you can track the suits, find the suit that's not where it's supposed to be.
And we have a whole collection of kind of armored heroes that are looking for him. So we got Madison Jeffries, Tony Ho, Arno Stark, and of course Riri Williams. And they're all kind of been bebopping around the series for a while. Jeffrey's kind of the oddball one because he's like an Alpha Flight guy. He could communicate with armors and stuff. He made his own suit. He ran around he was called Box for a while.
Oh yeah, I remember Box. Okay.
Yeah, so you might have to, I don't know. You might have to look up Alpha Flight Box to get Jeffrey Madison.
Yeah, I guess I don't know where he connected, but that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Kind of an old school one. But they've all been kind of think-tanking, trying to figure out where Tony's been this whole time. And of course, once they get their lead on it, they all decide to power up and put on their suits and go flying after him. And I think Riri was kind of like, oh, I thought I was going to go alone.
Right.
And instead you wind up having this whole group of them. And I think it's Arno who makes this joke about the armored squad being all going out to try to find Tony. And as the plot thickens throughout the book, we kind of have more and more with Doom and then trying to break into his armor. And you're getting a couple of guys that are like, why is he even dressed up like Doom? Or like Iron Man to begin with.
Right. A couple of the Wrecking Crew are there, and they're like, yeah, why is he wearing this costume? Is he working for Stark? What's going on?
Yeah. By the time they actually manage to pop the suit open, we discover that he's not there, which led a lot of them to think he was never there. In the end, Vic just teleported himself out so that he couldn't be harassed by them any longer. As Riri and the rest follow the signal, they wind up coming to an old abandoned shopping center. And pretty quickly they wind up being attacked by a whole bunch of just kind of D-lister guys that are all kind of different armored suits. And we really find out that they're all just kind of puppets, which leads back to the person who's controlling them, which is another kind of D-list lady that has been running Armorous for a while. And what we kind of find out is Tony just left all these, like, false trails. Whatever he's doing, he doesn't want them to be there for. And so he's kind of just illustrating, like, well, if you keep following me, it's just going to be more and more of this. You're just going to keep running into, like, kind of the dirty work that I left behind. Which is kind of an interesting thing, because we do have a moment where we get a Friday talk for Tony.
Well, she gets taken over by him.
Yeah.
We assume it's him, at least. Tell him, yeah, quit following me, blah, blah, blah. This lady was on the most wanted list for this, so good job, guys.
Which Arno seems pretty interested in her, so who knows, maybe we'll see her show up again later in the series continues. But kind of the big catch is at the end, which is where we find out where
Victor
had gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of find out that Vic has been busy, been living his own life. He's been busy doing more than just trying to be Iron Man and trying to live up to an ideal. And kind of like the big thing for it that Vic has a kid on the way. And
Dun,
so,
dun, dun.
yeah, Dr. Doom may have another child. Which, if I'm thinking right, there is another child of Doom out there already that's like an adult. Now, my information might be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure he has like a teenage-ish son or that kind of runs Latveria when he's gone, that poses as Doom. I don't know if he's still alive or not, but like that was a thing before, but this is a new kid.
Well, it's unborn at this point.
Yeah.
Says we'll see whether that manages to land anywhere else afterwards. I mean,
yeah. So pretty big shocker to me. Like, we've been kind of running this whole looking for Tony for a minute thing, so. But the stuff with Vic, that's pretty crazy.
pretty interesting.
Mm.
Well, Rob, what score-wise, what did you give that book for a score?
I'd say 3.5. It's a very well done book so far. You know, I've liked where they've gone with it. It's interesting that we have the two different art styles throughout the book, because every time that we go over to Vic, we kind of have the irredeemable Iron Man looking art style.
Right.
I think this is probably the best use of Riri Williams as she's gone in the series, which is kind of sad. I mean, it's kind of drawn to the end, and this is where I've actually liked her the best. But
Yeah.
But yeah, 3.5. I'd say pretty middle, I guess.
Okay. Mr. Josh, what do you think about that book?
I'll give it a 3. This might be better explained to me. Maybe appreciate the book more and not appreciate the book more. But if Tony Stark's missing, like, is there no continuity across Marvel anymore because he's in the Avengers books?
Well, not at this point. This book's a little older at this point. So, like, where the current Avengers that just came out, like, maybe 2 weeks ago, this doesn't line up with that. They're two different time frames.
Yeah, technically, this book came out
Like 5 months ago,
a
maybe.
minute ago. Yeah.
Oh, okay. My bad.
No, that's all right. The big, like, $5.99 and probably $600 probably clear it up better. As to, like, this is where he's at and this is where he's been.
Right.
But,
Well, the 60, I think it's 60, is it 600 or 601 was the big return of Tony Stark. Because we actually had a new Iron Man start last week. Tony Stark Iron Man.
Oh, cool.
Which that one's like the brand newest one, but yeah, this book particularly we picked because of the whole Doctor Doom reveal thing.
yeah, we haven't got to talk about it yet.
Yeah, it was interesting. So as far as stuff, yeah, in the world, I don't know if we told you that before you went through and read that one.
You said, hey, read these books. And I said, okay, and I read them.
Yeah. Time is fluid in comics, so. Was there a score in there somewhere?
I gave it a 3.
Oh, okay. Sweet. All right. Well, yeah, I'd follow suit, actually. I'd give it a 3 as well. I mean, I did like how the art shifted between the two different storylines, because we basically had to bump around between all the stuff going on with Riri and the other Iron characters and Blade, back and forth to Doom and what was happening with Doom, and like having the same style from the the Irredeemable Iron Man, I think lent to that idea as a good way to separate the two pieces of story. So I thought that was really cool. So I guess maybe I give it a 3.5, because I thought that was really neat the way they did that. Generally, that kind of stuff pisses me off when the art's like so different, but both styles are really good. So So I dug that.
Well, and it also helped that it wasn't just kind of like, oh, these pages didn't get done. It was thematic.
It fit because of the time frame, or because of where you were at character-wise. Anyhow, yeah, so it fit really well. But yeah, I give it 3.5. Overall, all that Doom stuff's been really interesting, with the whole, like, Doom, bum, 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 kid thing is kind of like, wow, alright.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see where this goes. Anyhow, so I give it 3.5. I guess that's all for that, right? Yeah, okay, so next book. Usually I feel more focused. It's been a long time since we did one of these. It feels like it's been a long time. I guess there was Comic-Con last week, so that's to slow things down.
A lot of running around lately.
That's true. In a few weeks from now, I'll be gone to Comic-Con again, just in San Diego, so good times, I guess. So let's move on to Plastic Man. Plastic Man number 1, this is the 6-part miniseries, written by Gail Simone, and the artist on it is Milo? Adrian Milo. It's M-E-L-O. I think that's how you pronounce it. Anyhow, so when the book first opens up, we're in Coal City, which is, I guess, Plastic Man's New Jersey or whatever. And timeline-wise, it's hard to say where this is happening at, because everything's very 50s gangster. But I think it's just because his backstory is 50s gangster. But I don't think it's actually supposed to be in the 50s. But we've got a couple mobsters with another more recognizable mobster on his knees in the background. And one of the guys getting razzed by his girlfriend now. She wants to get to the restaurant because she's not here for them getting work done in the alley. Which eventually leads over to figure out that who they have pinned down is Plastic Man. And he's in his thug persona, I guess is what you'd call it. I guess that's who he was before he was affected by the... This is kind of an origin story, I guess. I mean, it has the origin in it.
But he's already Plastic Man.
Well, at this point, he's already Plastic Man, yeah.
So it's kind of like a nod to the original origin of Plastic Man.
They do show a flashback later. Anyhow, he's in his here with these two other thugs. The entire time he's got a monologue going on in his head how these guys used to be his friends and how can you trust your friends when your friends are terrible. And of course, they lead to whooping his ass in the alleyway, breaking his knees, and everything looks really horrific. And then when they get done, they're like, yeah, you don't snitch on this to anybody. Snitches get stitches. They don't say that, but it'd be funny if they did.
No.
I think it would be. And so they leave him like a bloody mess on the ground. And then this little kid comes walking up in a hoodie. And he's like, man, those guys beat the blank, because it's hyphenated out of you. And they're like, that's so Wang. And then he's like, you need an ambulance or something? And Plastic Man says, no, I'm good. He's like, what's your name, mister? And that's when we get the reveal. Because up to this point, he wasn't in the costume at all, by any means. If you don't know, Plastic Man's real name is Eel O'Brien. And so he tells him that's who he is, and the kid says, I'm Pablo. Anyway, eventually the two of them, their dialogue leads to the point where he leaves, and then Plastic Man's like, is Wang a good or bad thing? Does Wang still mean penis? And the kid just wanders off into the mist. That's the background. So there's no real answer to it as far as what Wang's supposed to mean. Because it could be bad. I mean, he was pretty beat up. Okay.
But he wasn't beat up, though.
Well, ultimately, once he reshapes himself, yeah, he spit up a bunch of blood, but...
No, I think it was just his plasticness making it look like blood. It
could very well been. Because once he reforms, he's fine and dandy, and off he runs as Plastic Man. Like, bouncing around, smiles all day.
And I think it was just some, kid from the street just watching it kind of from a distance, I think.
Right. I doubt it was any more than that. I mean, unless issue 2, the kid comes back. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, yes. I don't know enough about Plastic Man to be like, oh yeah, that's some kind of weird reference to something. So I kind of don't think it is, but you never know.
Yeah, I find it unlikely. Anyway, so then we kind of move from there into him following the crooks to the job they were talking about doing next. And in the process, he would get the flashback of him. And the way that this particular story describes it is he was on a job with these other 3 dudes that disrupt them up. And they're robbing like a chemical factory or something. And they wind up killing a guard. And, of course, O'Brien gets shot as well by the guard. And so at that point, the whole chemical thing spills on him and changes him in the first place. So he doesn't have a full memory of what happened. And he's trying to figure out who killed the guard. And that's what he's looking to try to track down and get retribution for. And he knows these 3 guys are the dudes there with him. He doesn't know which one of them popped the guard. So he goes after one of them and shakes some information out of him, and that guy claims that O'Brien's the one that shot the guard. And this is one of the dudes that just beat up O'Brien in the alley, so he has no idea he's Plastic Man. That leads him to go into his night job, which is working at a different club, underneath the O'Brien, well, his real persona. And while he's there, like, he has nightmares about the whole incident, and in his head he's like, am I a murderer? Like, maybe I am a murderer, you know, I didn't mean to kill the guard or shoot the guard, but it could be my fault. And from there, he winds up being woken up in the middle of the night. Well, we also see that his friends dumped his body, which is how he initially sort of died in the first place, because he got shot too, and the chemicals fell on him. Then the other thugs took the body, took him with them, eventually pitched him out of the car because they didn't want to take him to the hospital. It's like one of the friends was like, dude, we gotta take him to the hospital, and the other two were like, no, we gotta dump the body. And they basically just threw him off a bluff. Anyhow, so he wakes up in the middle of the night, and there's a lady there with a gun pointed at him. She says she's from Spiral, and that she needs his help. And so he gets up, he's like, well, I gotta put on some, you might want to turn your back for a second, because I, don't have any undergarments on. And she's like, I'm not turning around on you at all. And he stands up, and he's like, all right, would you like my 6-pack? And he's like, oh, you like it if it's a 12-pack? And of course it changes because he's Plastic Man. And he's like, oh, hang on, are you looking at my, and she's like, I'll turn around. So it's kind of funny. I thought it was funny. It's all jokes about his man part. And he's Plastic Man, so like, he's impressing the ladies, that's what no? Okay. Anyway, apparently only funny to me. Well, from there he gets a phone call, and his phone call is from one of the would be the thug, the one that was willing to take him to the hospital. And he's like, I need your help with Brian. Like, I don't have anybody else to call. They're here to get me. I need your help. You gotta save me. So he's like, I gotta go. And the lady's like, good luck doing that. I need your help too. Because all the super teams and government organizations have been infiltrated by a subgroup trying to take things over. And he's like, yeah, I don't know about that. She's like, no, even the super teams. That's why I came to you. He's like, there's probably someone better suited for this. Like, everybody but me. And she's like, no, I need you because I know you are just one dude, and whoever's they've got people everywhere, including the Justice League. And of course, O'Brien doesn't believe that, and off he bounces. Eventually gets to his friend's house, where he finds his friend basically bullet ridden on the floor, like jacked up, but still kind of alive. He's like, who did it? Who hurt you? Tell me who did it. I'll get him for you. And of course, he's in full Plastic Man gear, so like the fact the guy didn't freak out is kind of weird. But the dude writes on the wall JLA with his fingers in blood. And about that time, the cops kick in the door, and there's this old lady, the next door neighbor, who's like, that's the man that killed him. And he's like, what? And that's where the book ends. So, like, we know he didn't do it, because we were with him at the apartment with the lady. But there's an eyewitness saying that he is the one who did it. And the thug himself has incriminated the Justice League, which at one point Plastic Man has hung out with. So it doesn't look too good for our stretchy guy. Is that what you would call him? Because he's not the Elastic Man, because that's a different dude. Mm-hmm. He's not the Rubber Band Man, because that's a different guy too. He's not Mr. Fantastic, because that's a different universe. So yeah, it doesn't look so good for O'Brien, just in general. That's pretty much it. Score-wise, I give it a 2. I mean, I like Gail Simone a lot. And I don't know if this is an older written story, or if it's a story that's just out of place in time and only happening because of the Terrifics happening, or what. Because it wasn't bad. It just doesn't feel like it fits anywhere with anything else happening. And DC's been pretty okay about that lately. I mean, stories seem to line up. Batman's missing, he's missing, and everything. So I kind of wonder, timeline-wise, this was meant to come out at a different time, or... Yeah, I don't know, because we don't really mention the Dark Universe at all. We don't mention his teaming up with the Terrifics. We don't talk about any of that. So
it just seems kind of a throwback origin, like a Plastic Man Year 1 story. What it seems like to me.
Yeah, maybe if they would have titled it that way, I would be more happy with it. Like, if I think about it that way, then I guess I'd give it a 3, because it was, the story's not written bad. It's got funny parts in it, pieces I laughed at.
Because he's just become Plastic Man, kind of. It's not.
Well, they don't revelate how much time's gone on. Enough time that his friends could have thrown him over the...
Well, they thought that they're like, you're back from the dead. Like, that's
right.
If you're going to come back from the dead, we're going to beat you up again, or whatever. Like,
right, we would keep you from talking.
So it's like, it didn't seem like that long, and he's still trying to figure out who killed the guard. Like, so it's relatively...
Yeah, I guess that's true. It is a pretty origin story. Yeah, maybe they would have called it year 1 or something.
I don't know enough about Plastic Man and the aspect of like, have they ever really done originally maybe like whenever he was first created, but like a new retelling of his origin to kind of bring people back on board so they're like into Plastic Man again. I mean,
I don't know. Maybe that's what this is supposed to be. I don't feel like he hasn't a lot of normal, like, his own series. I mean, he had one during that whole Flashpoint thing, but that was very different and had nothing to do with the current continuity. And since then, he's only really been in the Terrifics, because he hasn't really been part of anything else. So I'm going to go with no, and since Rebirth and since New 52, he definitely hasn't, so...
And there was like he was in the JLA off and on throughout like the 2000s. He'd show up and do different things, but the kid thing reminded me of one. There was like a one-shot JLA book where it was like Batman and Plastic Man teamed up, and they were trying to help out Plastic Man's illegitimate son. It was just like, and that's what it kind of reminded me of. That, I mean, that might be. Who knows? I don't know.
I don't think that actually connects to that at all, but yeah, I don't know. Depending on which version of his origins, like, there's some origins they did in the cartoons, and they heavily link him with Batman, like Batman giving him his second chance, and that's why he's decided to be good. Because Batman's like, hey, dude, don't suck. And so he's like, I'm not going to. It's going to be awesome.
Right.
But yeah, I guess I give it a 3. If it's like an origin, supposed to be year 1 kind of thing, then I like it better than what I initially thought when I was like, I don't understand how this fits. So I'm happier with that, I guess.
I like Plastic Man. I go to 3.5. If you like Plastic Man, you'll enjoy it. But if you don't really like Plastic Man, then this might make you like him more. I mean, give you a little bit more of an understanding of what he's about.
Sure.
It's a well-written story. I like the art in it.
Mr. Rob, what do you think of Plastic Man?
I'd go ahead and give it a 3. I think that's exactly what they were shooting for. I think they were going with the idea that there's a whole generation or a whole group of people from New 52 on that don't know Plastic Man. And unfortunately, with his appearance now in Metal, and now his time as a part of the Terrifics, there isn't anywhere that he can fit yet. I want to think that they're kind of bridging this also with the Rebirth stuff, so in theory, his time as Mr. Terrific is kind of shortened. So chances are he's probably not had...
Plastic Man?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Plastic Man. So probably he hasn't had his child yet. Although that was a pretty big story in the Justice League. Because one of the big things that came out of that was like, holy cow, your son can change color. And he's like, oh, well, yeah, I could too. I just thought it was funnier to not.
Silly. Well, that makes sense with the whole Rebirth and New 52 and everything. I guess we haven't had an official origin. I mean, he did show up in a few random issues of, like, Justice League books in the background of things, but I don't think he was ever written to be in those.
Yeah, I think during Forever Evil,
right,
they wanted to set up his origin, and it didn't happen.
Right.
And then it wound up kind of getting rolled up into Metal. Which, I mean, it's possible that still is the origin, is the Eel O'Brien character that we saw shot and dumped into that back in Forever Evil. But I kind of don't think so. It might be. Yeah, my guess is this is just kind of supposed to be a kind of catch-up, and they probably would tell you just don't think about it too much.
Right. Yeah, don't think about it, it's fine.
Well, he comes out of the egg in the Terrifics or whatever.
In Metal.
Yeah, and I think he'd been gone for a while.
Wasn't he the egg in Metal too?
He was. But yeah, he'd been gone prior to that when he got trapped in the egg or whatever, trapped in that form.
Oh, that's right, because he had to have been Plastic Man before he became the egg.
Right.
So this could take place somewhere before Metal.
I'm going to lean with that being the correct answer.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think that fits better.
But I mean, either way, it feels like it's supposed to be an origin kind of story. So
you heard it here second, because it might have been the write-up for the book. I don't remember.
I don't know. But I typically do not like Metal or Plastic Man, and I'm kind of, I don't know. He's cool in this. You know, Plastic Man's had a weird history with DC Comics where he was really important and had a lot of popularity, and he just kind of fell out over time. And so, who knows? This might be the road back in. There's a lot of people who found that 2000 series for Justice League to be some of the best Justice League they'd done in a while, because it just kind of didn't take itself so seriously, and Plastic Man was a big part of that.
All right, let's move on to the next book. This is Zero Jumper number 2.
Zero Jumper number 2 by Mark Mulholland. The company is Alterna Comics.
Yep.
And Rob brought up this is $1.50 cover price.
So yeah, this is actually kind of a big thing for Alterna Comics. Like their whole mission plan, I guess, is to be a more affordable version of comics. So they're trying to keep the price down around $1.50 at this point. They didn't shoot themselves in the foot and start off being like, this is the line, we're never going to cross it. But they do use, I don't want to say inferior.
It's newsprint paper inside.
It's not inferior.
Quality.
It's fantastic.
It's just kind of cheaper quality. You know, it's kind of more, I guess, traditional, more older school quality. So instead of having like kind of the high quality kind of plasticky pages that kind of keep their color like indefinitely, it has the more traditional comic book pulp paper or newspaper print paper.
Yeah.
Cool thing for it is, yeah, it's $1.50, so it's not as big of a risk for stores to carry. And it's, you know, they're kind of gimmick. They're trying to get it out there and trying to get people to come to Alterna Comics and check them out. So either way, I mean, that's the spiel behind the company. Let's get to the actual book.
Sure.
Well, it is about a young girl named Juno. She's the last Earthling. Earth has been destroyed, and she is trying to figure out a way to bring Earth back. She can jump through time, and she lands on this planet, and she's got a sidekick who's like a little robot thing, and a motorcycle, and a power suit, and she goes into this bar looking for a crystal of some sort that's going to help her with her time traveling and bring Earth back, and somebody's kind of following after her that also travels through time, who we kind of find out is the major antagonist of the series, and it's only going to be a 4-issue limited series. So, she meets up with some warrior woman who says that she can help her, and they fight their way to this portal that they're trying to get to, and they jump through the portal, and the big baddie's right there, and kind of, well, we got her. Now we can make the human race go extinct, and it leads on a major cliffhanger. It's really action-packed. The art is fantastic.
There's a lot of action in it. So at least story-wise, there's not a whole lot of story element, but there's a lot of action and a lot of like cool art. Like they have a motorcycle chase where the two girls are on the back of a motorcycle basically trying to fend off somebody else. There's the whole bar sequence has a fight sequence to it. So like there's a lot of work page-wise and art-wise, but at least a quick explanation.
Maybe not so much dialogue.
Yeah,
as much as it's more like
Yeah, it's just very action-packed.
Which, I mean, that's how you do it. Like, if you want to make a faster-paced book, you do a lot less dialogue. So.
Right.
I gave it a 4. I gave it a 4. I think it's great. I mean, if I maybe have read number 1, I might even like it more. Like, I don't want to give too high of a rating on something that, like, you know, you always leave the higher rating open for that book. That's just incredible. I would even go so far as to say I give it maybe even a 4.5. I love the idea of it being on newsprint. And somebody who's such a ridiculous traditionalist and has this attitude and this thing about him that's like, people love the smell of comic books and the touch of comic books and they have to be there and it's just, you just don't understand. And that's you, CBS. The fact that you don't like newsprint blows my mind.
It's not that I don't like newsprint. My issue with this particular bond of newsprint is that you can see the previous page on the current page. Like the printing... You can see both pages at the same time. And I have a problem with that. Like if they would have used so if they're on bond 1, which I don't know if that's what it actually is, because I don't know what grade of paper it is. But like the other books they put out, there's 2 others they put out. They put out one called, well, no, actually there's like 4.
Yeah, they put out a few.
Yeah,
actually.
One of the other ones we've done a review for actually was Tinseltown.
Yeah.
And like that one's got the same issues with the paper. So the paper bond, if it was a higher bond, even if it was just 1 ply more, I would like it better, only because then you wouldn't see the other pages bleed through on the current page you're reading. So like that's my explanation for why I don't like that.
I guess I don't see it. I'm not seeing... Anyway, I'm not going to argue. It's not a big deal to me, but I don't see it. I don't see what you're seeing, but it's ridiculous to me. I think newsprint makes comic books better. I love comic books on newsprint. I always did, and like when they started switching over to that plasticky feel, I started kind of getting away. I'm not as into that. I don't like that as much. It seems weird to me.
Well,
And I forgot how much I loved it when I was like, ooh. Got excited.
Yeah.
So.
Well, Rob, you guys go for that book?
I'd go with 3. It was fun. It has a lot of action going on in it, which is really cool. It's got a neat story element to it. I mean, when it comes to, like, the manufacture of the book, like, I don't know if that really factors in so much for me, but, like, there's pros and cons to both sides. You know, the big bonus for the new generation of books or whatever is that they're always going to be this pristine. The color is always going to be this nice. You're not dealing with yellowing, you're not dealing with page rot or whatever. But, yeah, you do lose something in it. You know, whereas the newsprint, could it have that chase and value? Yeah, because it's going to degrade. You know, the pages are going to yellow, the things are going to get torn up. They're not necessarily as tough. The color's going to fade. But, I mean, at this point, like, they're not a big enough company for that to be something that we're worried about, like, for chase-wise. But, I mean, it's cool that it gives that nostalgia factor. And so far, as a company, they're coming out with some really cool comics.
That's true.
You know, they're definitely picking some, like, really neat genres that people aren't doing right now. So, it's cool on them. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And the issue, I think, with indies a lot is that something always suffers. Like, and that happens on big books, too. Like, we'll get to the next book we're going to talk about. I have some issues, but, like, on an indie, you always run the risk because you don't have the money to hire the talent. So you always have to just pull people from a pool and hope that they're going to be fantastic and hope that you get that diamond in the rough. And the art and the story both, I didn't feel like it lacked anything. I thought it was really, really good. I really liked the art in it, like stylistically, and it was clean, and you could see what was going on even in the action sequences. Sometimes an artist who's not super, he's not seasoned, he or she can like make it look cluttery and messy.
Right.
And it wasn't that way, so.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely true. Now that I'm thinking of the book, I lost it. But we talked about it a while back, actually, from Denver. It was Joella Jones working on it.
Helheim?
We met the writer, and he had talked about securing her for the art on it. It was, It was basically, he had this autistic kid that played this kind of role-playing game with a bunch of his friends, and they kind of had fallen out over the years, and whenever the guy died, the powers kind of transferred to them. Prometheus Project. Okay,
you're not talking about Joelle, you're talking about Layla Del Duca.
Layla Del Duca, yes, I'm sorry. So, one of the big things about that book was that he had made like a big point of like securing the money to get Layla paid.
Right.
You know, to make that thing happen. And that was all before it got picked up by a bigger producer. So, I mean, that happens, you know. And so far, you know, this company's doing pretty good. So, we'll see what their test of time is, I guess. I don't know. Sorry.
You can stop. We'll catch you off there. Yeah, I give it a 3. The art's good. It's a fun story. It's a miniseries, and like a couple other books that I've read from that particular company, I like them. So as far as like things, I think they're cool. They are a smaller company, but as far as like this particular book, as far as the story, the company and the paper don't matter so much. Otherwise, we would have flunked like Marvel years ago for everything. Because if the mouse can't keep up and they're spending more money, then these guys are doing fine. But that's a different kind of argument about things. But as far as this particular issue, yeah, I give it a 3. I think it was good. It's fun.
Well, in a day and age when they're making a million issues of a comic book, and it's never, unless you get a special chase cover or something like that, it's not going to ever really be worth $1 million because they've made so many of them and so many people.
Well, they won't carry the same like value, but in the end of things. Yeah, there has to be a.
So you're just basically paying $5 for a book that.
Well, you're paying the artist writers. The main thing with so Marvel, like, again, you're talking about the talent. Like, their pool of people is so much more impressive. Because, like, the names you read on that book, I've never heard of them. That doesn't mean anything, but obviously they're good. But then all be all, you're paying $3.99 for a book over in Marvel. You're paying for the artist, writer, inker, colorist, and then possibly a letterer too. Now, granted, letter is maybe the smallest line of things, but nevertheless, like, you have 3 other major pieces in there that are all people need to be paid. So the first time around, yeah, that's where they're spending that money is on those people. And when you have people like Ed McGuinness or J. Scott Campbell doing anything, like you're paying out the nose. Whether you be Marvel or DC. I mean, hence the price of where books are at now. It's that. I mean, if everybody was dudes just trying to make it out of the garage, which these guys seem like they might be, it'd be a very different price point. I think for everybody. But that's, again, a different kind of argument. So let's move on to another fun book, right? Fun book. So we got Justice League number 2.
Yeah, so why not?
What is that horn sound? I have to get a sound effect board in here, and then I'll tell Mike not to push the buttons on it. Because for a while we did that for like a couple episodes, and Mike tried. It didn't work so great. Like he didn't do bad, but there was a couple.
I mean, he liked to push the buttons.
That's true.
Probably more than
do miss Mike being on the show.
Yeah.
He's been too busy in life, so maybe at some point we'll get that back around here.
One time.
Anyhow, so if I hadn't mentioned it earlier, this is Justice League number 2, written by Scott Snyder, and the art in it is by George Jimenez. I feel like I know George's name from something else, but I can't remember what it was now.
I bet it's Jorge.
Oh, maybe. That would make sense. Yeah, it's probably Jorge, right? Maybe. Regardless, sir, if you listen to this, I'm sorry I mispronounced your name, and you're welcome to send me an email to tell me how to say it. Well, Jim Zub sent us an email telling us how to pronounce certain, not his name is simple, but like the artist was working with him, whose now I don't remember. Yeah. Appreciate you, Jim. Anyway, so this book opens up when we join Lex Luthor, who's got an American flag behind him. He's standing in full suit, and he's giving a speech that seems like it to be to a huge batch of people. And then we pull back and we find out that it's like the Veterans House or Veterans Hall in Kansas. So there's like 5 guys there, and he's talking a big show about how, oh yeah, the reason he's here doing this speech is because of his dad, and how his dad used to care about this area and care about the Veterans Hall and blah, 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 blah. And then he tells them all, yeah, and I lined the building with explosives, so you all probably should get out. And they're like, oh yeah, and you're gonna blow up too. He's like, nope, my suit's explosive proof. And then all of a sudden this giant bubble thing wraps around his head to secure him protection wise, and the guys all freak out and start running out of the building before it explodes. To reveal a hidden door that you would only see if a particular thing happened, that has a marking on the door handle that is a particular marking. Something we saw similar to the previous issue, number 1, where we reveal the entranceway to the Justice League's, like, secret area inside the Hall of Justice. Because that area that's opened up to the public, and then they have the area that's not for the public. Anyway, it has a hidden door, and if your brain has been programmed by Martian Manhunter to be able to see it, then you can see it, otherwise you can't see it. Anyhow, so that leads to the explosion blowing everything up, and Lex Luthor using that to get himself access into this doorway. From there, we cut to space, where we join John Stewart, who's bringing a prisoner back to have transported to a cell. And this particular prisoner was out basically trying to break the cosmic membrane out in space. Has to do with the source wall, which a while back we had a storyline where the source wall had a big hole blown on it. And now we have a bunch of different folks trying to get on the other side of the wall, which is a crazy idea because the source wall initially, if you touched it, it basically absorbed you. And that's how they trapped Darkseid for quite a while, actually, was in the source wall.
Yeah. A lot of that goes all the way back to the Green Lantern and stuff with Relic.
Right, it does.
Yeah.
So he's talking to this fella, and the guy's constantly talking trash to him for the most part. And then eventually, all of a sudden, we have this emergence of Swamp Thing in the middle of the ship, and Swamp Thing tells him that he has a message, and Swamp Thing's figure turns into Batman. And Batman explains to John, this is the only way we can connect to you, because you're not currently dialed in to Martian Manhunter. Because the League is so very much like the anime cartoon, where they all had John orchestrate them together to where they could consciously talk to each other while wherever they were
telepathically linked.
Telepathically linked, there you go. Well, John apparently has that link, but is disconnected is not connected currently. And so the only way they could figure out to talk to him was to have him projected using Swamp Thing's powers. So Batman basically tells him, we need your help. We need you here now. Like, we have this giant head that crashed into the Earth from beyond the source wall that's emitting a signal. And this signal, we can't understand what it's supposed to be, but we're pretty sure whatever it is enough power to either take over the universe or destroy the universe. In the previous issue, we had some dealings with Vandal Savage and a few other villains, so that's prior to this issue, so a little more backstory, I guess. And while he's talking to John, he's like, dude, you've worked with us before, this isn't that different than before. He's like, no, I gotta work for the Corps, the Corps got me doing particular jobs. And Batman's like, no, dude, we need your help. Like, you don't understand. He's like, why can't Hal help you? And of course, Hal's got something else he's got going on.
Hal's dealing with the source wall.
Right. Which is where the main problems come from in the first place.
And that shows Batman's respect for every other Lantern. Now he's like, just you or Hal, everybody else is,
We know he doesn't get along with Guy at all.
But there's Kyle.
That's true.
The new guy that wears the mask.
Well,
Baz.
yeah, Baz and Jessica Cruz. But if you're going to pick a set of characters to pick, you don't pick... Yeah, clearly your right choice is Hal or John.
There's always Nort. You can always pick him.
No. Well, he's not from Earth, first. Second, he's got a dog face, so, you're not going to... No. Comic relief? Sure.
I'm just saying, there's other Green Lanterns, man.
Yeah, but not ones that Batman can have an immediate dial to. I guess he probably does, actually, because he's Batman.
Yeah, I've never had any interaction with Batman and Baz and Jessica.
Not that I'm aware of. I guess they must have at some point during the Justice League stories, because during New 52, Baz was part of the Justice League for a minute, but it wasn't a normal thing.
Well, I think Baz and Jessica have both been kind of on again, off again parts of the Justice League for a minute.
Right.
But they're both kind of trainee status, so I guess I could see where I wouldn't want them. Right.
Anyhow, Batman mentions that they've gone past the barrier wall of the giant head that crashed, and the one that did it was Killer Croc, and when Killer Croc came out, he said something was different. Not okay different. And about that time, you hear the giant, screaming, crashing, and everyone's like, Batman, we need your help. And John's like, what's that? He's like, well, and then we cut to the next page to a giant-looking T-Rex monster thing with spikes coming out of its back, and he's like, oh yeah, it's Killer Croc. And so what we see for Croc is now, not anything like Killer Croc normally looks. This thing is huge. It looks like a T-Rex sort of mixed with a Killer Croc with, exoskeleton spikes everywhere. It's crazy. And the whole Justice League's fighting it. Because apparently they are all needed to. And as this is going on, we wind up seeing that the creature or the new Killer Croc is still, forming new powers, because it, breathes gas out of its nose. That is kryptonite gas, and it injures Superman. He's like, well, that's new. It's got kryptonite breath now. And, the Flash, the Flash has problems with the Speed Force. Whatever's happening with him is something different. It has something to do with the Turtle character, which is from the Titans stuff, or Teen Titans stuff. Anyhow, so we wind up seeing them battling Killer Croc for the most part, and eventually Wonder Woman lassos them out, and they manage to trip him and take him down. From there, we cut back to Lex Luthor, who is now walking into an underwater base with Black Manta, Gorilla Grodd, and Cheetah. And Gorilla Grodd isn't terribly impressed. He's like, I like collectibles and old things. And then Black Manta's like, how's this on the bottom of the ocean? I don't know about it. I'm Black Manta. I know everything down here. And Lex Luthor basically tells him, well, the only ones that knew it was here was the people that built it, and that was centuries ago. And me. So welcome to a new base. Because basically just, he's building his Legion of Doom is what he's doing. And in the process, he introduces them to his ultimate weapon that is going to help Gorilla Grodd stop the Flash and everybody else stop whoever. And it's a baby, which is way weird. And I don't understand who this baby is or what it's supposed to be connected to or why it's even a thing at all. But Lex tells Grodd, well, if you want to know who he is, just mind meld with him. Of course, we don't get an answer from that ourselves, so I assume the answer must be for later. Then we cut back to our Justice League characters, and we have Hawk Girl talking to the Flash about this car that he's built for the Titans to try to fight the Turtle, and her talking about how she's still getting used to having metal wings and this whole idea of being who she is. So it's kind of like origin story status for her too, I guess. So it's sort of like where the cartoon worked. And about that time we have John, Martian Manhunter, and Superman both show up, and they tell the two of them, well, we have a plan to try to get inside the head's barrier, but there's only two of us that can really withstand it, and we built augmented suits for both of us. And then about that time, Batman chimes in, and the Flash is like, well, take me, I can vibrate and make myself not affected by things. And they're like, no, your Speed Force problems are not going to be good. We need you to stay here. And they basically tell Kendra, Hawk Girl, that she's going to go inside the other ship, and they're like, ship? Where's Batman at? Well, it turns out Batman is in a micronized atom ship inside of Superman's body. So think inner space, and now they're about to put Kendra into a ship and put her inside Martian Manhunter. So the vessels that are taking them into the crazy head's space is Superman and Martian Manhunter's bodies inside these augmented suits, which is just crazy. Like, completely crazy.
It's like the Magic School Bus or Osmosis Jones or...
Right, yeah, well, like inner space. The same idea.
Being John Malkovich.
Well, not quite the same, but similar. Anyhow, so from there we cut back to John Stewart. And John Stewart's decided to go investigate this thing in space that Batman wanted him to investigate. And in the process of that, he winds up finding it, and he's like, oh, it's so beautiful. Like, it's like all the answers in the world are behind this thing. And he sees that there's someone there. And the person reveals themselves, and of course it turns out to be Sinestro. But Sinestro is not yellow, he's not green. In fact, he's a color we've never really seen before at all. I kind of want to save that as a catch, because it's a very new thing. So we'll move past that for a little bit, till we get to the last catch they'll give you in the book, because there's a whole lot of their ground gets covered. Superman and Martian Manhunter basically approach the skull, or the giant head in the sand, and they both start trying to breach the interior of it. In the process of that, John returns, but he's now been affected or changed. So now he is a servant of Sinestro, which is a pretty big thing. We get a reveal that the Lex Luthor that Gorilla Grodd and Cheetah have been talking to is not actually Lex Luthor. He is a robot. And they show us where the real Lex Luthor is, and it's in one of the most unlikely places you'd ever expect. Which is also another thing that you're going to have to read the book to get, because, man, it is crazy. Just crazy. Man, score-wise, I like the art a lot. Writing-wise, and for as much as I, throw rocks at Scott Snyder occasionally, this is pretty good. I'm real happy with it. And if you like any of his Batman stuff from New 52, you'll like this. Because it's written really well, and, just the stuff happening is so crazy. And, you get a lot of coverage of a lot of characters. So, I don't feel like anybody's 100% left off the board. I mean, yeah, we don't get a lot of Aquaman, a lot of Wonder Woman in this issue, but we see them both when they're fighting the Killer Croc. And then we move forward with other characters, and they're around whenever John returns. It's John Stewart, excuse me. Not Green Lantern anymore. It's John Stewart. So, in the next issue, they'll definitely be more prevalent in whatever's going to happen there. But yeah, score-wise, did I ever give it a score? No, I'm going to give it 4. Yeah, I thought it was really good. It's fun. I'm interested to see the next issue. I'm fairly excited with this new Justice League and, the way things are moving. And they reference the Justice League Dark, and I think that's really cool because we know we're getting that as a book. So, where these things are going to connect, I think it'll be neat. That's all I got for that, so it's good stuff. Josh, you have a score for that book?
I don't know. I give it a 3. I was I'm not a big fan of the whole Super Friends-esque direction they're going. It's the Hall of Justice and the Legion of Doom and Lex Luthor's talking to the Legion of Doom and giving Gorilla Grodd a baby. It's not a fan.
Can't believe you don't like that part.
I don't. I hated Super Friends, so.
But this isn't Super Friends. It's more like Justice League animated series. Super Friends, not the same thing.
I feel like it was a lot like that. But you were right, the art in the second issue, which is weird to me. I don't know what's going on. I don't work at DC. I don't know what happened, but the art in the first issue of Justice League is dramatically worse. So
that's not true.
Well, it's personal opinion.
That's true.
I think it's dramatically worse. And obviously somebody felt that way, and that's why they switched artists. Because there's times when Superman looks just like Bizarro's face. It's all whited out, and his eyes are just lines. And it's just whoever the artist was got bored, I think. And
I don't think that's the case. The scene you're talking about, they're all supposed to be they're not really there. They're all see-through.
No, they're not all
see-through
of
themselves.
They're not all see-through, but whatever. If that's you like it, that's fine. I mean, you
go on,
argue just to argue, but I'm just saying that they made a dramatic improvement in this one, and it's way better, and the art's fantastic. The art's really, really good in it, and I liked that part of it a lot. I'm curious where they're going to go with this John Stewart Sinestro thing. We'll see. But
did you give it a score in there?
I gave it 3.
Okay. Rob, you got a score for the Justice League number 2?
I'd probably follow it up with a 3 as well. I thought the art was good for it. Surprisingly enough, I am a big fan of the Justice or the Super Friends, but I don't necessarily like it when it gets involved in the comics. So I don't know if I'm super happy with that either.
Huh.
We'll see as it goes. If they can make it work in a compelling way. I mean, the Hall of Doom is a fun concept in comic, but I'm sorry, not in a comic, in an animated series, but in a comic, it doesn't quite work that well.
You mean like Legion of Doom?
Yeah. For them to have like their own hall that they're going to be hanging out in and stuff.
Their own secret hideout.
It's kind of like Skeletor's Snake Mountain. When you know where he's at, when things go down, you just go there.
Yeah, but they don't know. The Justice League is not aware of a
not
base.
At this point, but like, you push that too long, it shouldn't be an issue, you know?
I guess what you're saying. The Skeletor thing, everybody knows where Snake Mountain is because a giant snake come out of the top of it, and if he wants to shake Skeletor down, he just goes Snake Mountain.
That's what
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, at some point, I think anything that went wrong, I would just be showing up at Snake Mountain.
Well, that's why in G.I. Joe they had there was the Terrordrome, and then there was Destro's place, and there was that castle, that big snake castle. Then they also had the massive flying helicarrier that looked like a snake too. So there was 10 different places that Cobra Commander could be, and he was always a different place. These guys are we're in one secret layer.
That's what it seems like they're leading to, and it's possible that that's not even going to be a thing. As soon as they get that figured out, it'll disappear. Or it could be like the House of Mystery, and it'll go into being really interesting as just kind of a thing that they throw up every once in a while. But I mean, regardless, it's a strong start for the new Justice League. And if you're going to go for Jon Stewart, I mean, this is a strong way to do that. I don't think we've actually seen Sinestro very much lately, so that'll be interesting. For me, I guess the big thing is I don't want to see Superboy Prime back. I don't think we ever need to see Superboy Prime ever again.
Do you feel like this is leading to him?
Anytime we touch the source wall, that begins to be something people talk about. And I just, that's my personal thoughts on it. Superboy Prime had his story, and it was awesome. We'll leave him alone. We don't need him anymore. We don't ever need to see him again. Anything you do to bring him back is just going to make that weaker. That's what I'm thinking. But I'd give it a 3. I think it's pretty well done so far. So...
Mm-hmm. I doubt we're going to see anything Superboy Prime, but now they said that, I should probably knock on wood. But, yeah, I don't think he's part of this storyline. Not really. We might see him back at some point. And there's a lot of flavor on the internet that wants to see him back only because he killed the shit out of people, so...
Yeah, I don't understand it, there's just nothing that can be continued with him.
Destruction?
Yeah, but to what end?
More destruction.
Yeah, but you're not going to do that anymore.
That's true.
You can't bring him back and have him rip Puma in half again. She's already done.
I know, because she's back alive because of New 52.
Well, maybe.
So the Puma gets ripped apart again.
I mean, they're the same people who got to the end of Avengers and went, something happened. They say they want to see it, but when they see it, they don't want it.
Right. Well.
And there's only so far you can go. You can't keep bringing him in and have him do craziness, because eventually he's going to get to somebody that can't be done with.
Sure.
So
it's a good point. I'm not championing the idea of return. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that want it, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah, that's weird.
Other places I think it would made more sense to show back up, and they didn't use him, so I guess that's fine. Okay, so let's move on from the Justice League and Superboy Prime for whatever weird reason to X-Men Gold number 30.
X-Men Gold. Number 30.
Yeah.
I wasted everything I had on that.
You fired.
And so it's being written by Mark Guggenheim with artists by David Marquez. And this is kind of like the culmination of a lot of things leading together. And I don't know, I was actually talking to somebody about this not too long ago, that it kind of feels like DC was setting up Batman, Catwoman.
Right.
And so Marvel was like, oh, we're going to have a wedding too. And just kind of threw this together.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like there was a little bit more legwork behind it, but it doesn't feel as impactful as maybe it should have. And that's not even to do with the book, because the book is actually really well written. that's just kind of the sad truth of it, I
They're
guess.
filling behind the chase for both companies.
Yeah.
They always do that, though. Like,
Yeah.
Batman's missing now, and Iron Man was missing. Like, they're always doing something to, like, rip one another off.
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely it's a competitive thing, you know. I mean, when you see something succeeding over here, you try to do over there, but, like, I don't know. This was a bad choice. It's not as bad as, like, the Earth 2 Green Lantern stuff that was going on whenever we had, oh my gosh, there's going to be a major DC character that's gay, and all of a sudden, oh, North Star's getting married, like,
Right.
you know, it wasn't as bad as that, so.
Eh.
Anyways, getting into this issue, there's actually a lot of really, really cool old X-Men knowledge in here, and a lot of neat callbacks. So we actually begin with Kitty and Colossus, and it's a flashback to just after Secret War, which, if, you know, you were reading that far back, or you know that far back, there was this huge thing, because Kitty and Colossus were thought to, you know, be together forever. I mean, they were like Peter Parker, Mary Jane, you know, that was the foregone conclusion. These two were going to get married.
Right.
Well, during Secret War, Peter Colossus was nearly killed. And he winds up being killed by this alien lady, and they fall in love and, you know, have their first intimate moments, and Colossus comes back changed after she dies. And he's like, I can't be with you anymore, Kitty. Like, my life is too different now. And so she's remembering this as they're going into their wedding. And she's remembering, like, the things that he said about her when he was mourning her death, moving into the things he's saying to her now about their relationship or their wedding coming up.
Well, there's like interesting nods or comparisons between the two situations and how similar they are. And there's a lot of cool flashbacks. I mean, the flashbacks whenever she's trapped in the bullet, the flashbacks where he decided to give himself the mutant cure that killed him. Like, there's a lot of neat leans to old stuff that happened.
Yeah, well, they definitely talk a lot about these different characters and their relationship to one another. Another kind of cool thing is when they wind up going to the bar and we start finding out, like, other characters have sort of these relationships and things that are being built that maybe we didn't originally know about or weren't as obvious. So we have a lot of relationship between Jean, young Jean, old Jean, and Rachel, and kind of how they relate to each other.
It was really pretty funny, actually, where the three of them were talking to each other. If you're going to mother anybody, you should mother her. And Rachel's like, oh my god, I wish we get invaded by the Brood or something.
Yeah. And then we get a nice nod back to, like, what Lockheed's been up to. But one of the things I thought was really cool is they've been building out a relationship between Rachel and Nightcrawler. And Nightcrawler kind of makes this point of being like, yeah, if you guys get married, I'm probably going to propose to her. When they were talking about, like, well, is this serious or not? From there, Kitty kind of gets pulled away by Ileana, which, again, this is like old continuity stuff. You have to really know your X-Men. Ileana and Kitty are best of friends. So much so that, like, when Ileana was losing her soul, she was actually left, like, a piece of it with Kitty to kind of inherit the soul sword in case she would die. So, like, their relationship is really tight. And Ileana doesn't really mean to, but she kind of, like, puts the fear of doubt into her, kind of.
A little bit, yeah.
And I think it just kind of opens up Kitty's mind to thinking, like, what am I doing this for? Am I really doing this because this is the right thing to do, or is this because, like, this is what is expected of me to do? And we continue on, you know, building out some more stuff. And I mean, like, if there's one thing that I can say in this, it's really kind of a nice touchback to the fans that have been here for so long. So, like, even the person that's putting on Kitty's makeup is, you know, a character that was really important back in the day that hasn't been around for a while.
Right.
You know, they don't have anything in here that's just kind of, let's just throw this in just to throw it in. You know, they didn't waste any time being like, oh, hey, let's have Storm hang out with Bloodstorm just because.
Right.
You know, they do kind of pull that a little bit with Logan showing up and, like, watching him like a creep from the roof.
Well, it's because he's not supposed to be back yet, Rob, and him and Kitty have a weird history, too.
Everybody's been chasing after Wolverine, so, yeah, well, I mean, Kitty is the original, like, Wolverine sidekick character.
Right.
And they've been chasing that ever since it happened. You know, I mean, they've been trying to put that genie back in the bottle, or, well, like, capture that lightning again, I should say. You know, it's kind of like what happened with Dick Grayson in Batman. You know, he took off and became something amazing, and they've tried to do it again and again and again, and it never really works. I mean, if you follow the progression, like Jubilee, Armor, not really Hope, but, you know, they've continued to do this throughout the time, trying to give him a new protege.
Right.
As we get to the wedding itself, and there is an interesting thing there where we have the rabbi, and I guess this really shouldn't be that interesting. I don't know why I'm always like, oh yeah, Kitty's Jewish.
Yeah.
Because it's always been a thing.
It's just, yeah.
I mean, that's actually why the guy got in trouble in the beginning of this book in the first place.
The issue 1.
Because
Yeah.
the guy just, like, had to be a jerk. But we're getting to the moment where she's walking down the aisle, and we're kind of going back and looking at all these moments that were key in these characters' lives, leading up to this one that could be, like, the next biggest key.
Right.
Right? And there is something here in the middle that happens, and it's big. It's a big deal. And it relates to the variant cover that came out, and it relates to where we're going to go next. But we're just going to jump that.
Let that be the cliffhanger for
Yeah, so you need to buy the book.
I'm sure all those other websites have spoiled that already. But you could go on.
Well, yeah, they do. They spoiled it before it came out, because that's what Marvel loves to do.
Yeah.
Marvel doesn't want to keep anything in its pants. It just shows up to the party and it's like, this is a foregone, thing, and just whips its pants right out.
So I sat through this whole podcast to be able to talk about the ending of this book, and now I don't even get to talk about it.
Well, no, we're gonna jump a little bit further. We're just gonna skip a section here in the middle. But basically,
the ending we're gonna talk about.
Basically,
you can't talk about the ending without talking about the part you're going to skip.
We can, yeah. No,
you can. You can leave it out. It's fine.
I got this, okay? So,
okay.
The sentiment of what's going on actually winds up inspiring to other people.
Right.
And it winds up actually being an offhanded comment by Storm, which is great because Storm has not addressed, as far as I know, anything with her and T'Challa.
Or the Black Panther?
Yeah.
No, it just leaves through out the window.
And so it was nice to see her comments basically being, it's better to have somebody in your life that you want to have every moment of your life with than to discover something else, which is really poignant without saying, like, her relationship with T'Challa doesn't work.
Right.
That inspires Rogue and Gambit to begin a next step in their life where actually Gambit proposes to Rogue.
Right.
And she accepts.
And we go all the way to the 9 yards.
Yes. And so, that's what the next thing is. So, that mysterious book that we were like, it's a mysterious, classified. They're not going to show us the cover.
Right.
It's this book.
Yeah. Do you know the title? I know the title.
Well, I think it's shown right here, isn't it?
It is.
Mr. and Mrs. X.
Bwah, bwah, bwah.
Yeah. But you know what doesn't happen in this? That's kind of sad.
Huh.
Nightcrawler does not propose to Kitty.
Kitty?
Or not Kitty,
Rachel.
I'm sorry, to Rachel.
That's true.
Which is sad. And maybe that's because of some of the stuff that happens in the book, but there was another point that was awesome in there where we have Beast and Beast together and Iceman and Iceman together, and they're like, you know what, we could be the new Fantastic Four.
Awesome.
And Beast's like, the Dave's already took it, and he's like, nobody's using it right now.
Hilarious.
I think the coolest thing to me in this book, besides the wedding of Rogue and Gambit, because Gambit's my favorite X-Man, always has been, always will be, and like you were talking about all these, you have to know some history. There's so much throwbacks to old X books. Well, Gambit's first appearance, that issue is him helping out Storm. So him and Storm are talking, and he's confiding in her, talking about how much he loves Rogue, and people forget that Storm and Gambit are really close because they were both street thugs, basically. She was a
thief, and
she was a thief,
he's a
and
thief.
so they have a lot of background, a lot of history. So
Yeah, they can see each other. They can see one another in themselves.
Right.
But I mean, earlier this year we had the whole Rogue and Gambit miniseries, and it was kind of building this back up. And for me, as a 90s X-Men guy, that's where it was supposed to be.
Right.
I mean, they even allude to it in this book where Jean is like poking young Cyclops and is like, oh yeah, we got married over there, which is weird, by the way, that Jean did that. But
young Jean did that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother
Young Jean's
thing.
telling young Cyclops, like, that's where we got married, when we got married in this. And then
Yeah,
that's what we...
because Jean's been all butthurt about knowing what her future is supposed to be.
Right.
So, like, it's weird that she did that. I'm thinking that was probably an easier writing thing. But, I mean, back in the day, Gambit caught the garter and she caught the bouquet. So, like, this is kind of a nice tie to that, too. And, of course, they actually didn't do that nonsense in this book. But, you know, maybe it'll happen in the next issue. Who knows? Or maybe the first issue of Mr. and Mrs. X.
I don't think we'll relive the wedding in that issue.
I doubt it. That's kind of like, I don't know. Is that even a thing anymore, really?
People do it at weddings.
Do they
yes.
still do it?
Yes.
I don't know.
It's a thing.
Okay.
Well,
It's
I mean,
still a thing.
there's some, a throwback to the Cyclops Jean Grey wedding. There's some really cool things that happened in that book. And it was like, one of the, I mean, I would say that me being the massive Superman fan that I am, I think it trumps the Lois Lane, Clark Kent wedding, the Superman Lois Lane wedding issue, just because it's like, there's so much more feeling to it. I think they rushed the Superman one, speaking of wedding books, but that one they kind of did it because Lois and Clark were getting married on the TV show, so they rushed it in the comics to make it match. But this one, like the Cyclops and Jean Grey thing, was like, they built up to it. They were in love, and it's like some really cool things, like Jean making Professor X with her mind be able to stand so she could dance with him, because that was kind of her father figure. And there's so many cool things in it. Like, it was a good. So this
felt very traditional X-Men, like all the things that kind of you want to love about the Claremont X-Men. Like, I felt like was really, really here, and it was really, really represented, and it was represented well. Because there's been other times where they've gone, yeah, let's go play some baseball, and it feels really like just nostalgia-y for nostalgia sake, where this feels more real in a way, if that makes sense. I wish I could say, like, I wasn't a DC fan at the time that wedding took place, so I really can't compare. But,
Right.
like, for me, the Cyclops Jean wedding was huge because I was an X-Men fan. And, like, that's what I followed. I didn't even get to experience the Spider-Man Jean Grey. That happened, didn't it? Didn't that happen?
It's the other redhead.
I could. He liked redheads.
Spider-Man and
Mary
Jane Watson.
There you go.
Like, I didn't experience that wedding.
Or the Sue Storm, Reed Richards wedding.
No. I mean, that stuff was all stuff that, even if it was going on at the age that I wouldn't have cared. Because I was an X-Men fan. And it's not that those other guys didn't matter, it's just that
You weren't reading the forum.
X-Men's what the thing was for me. But I'm glad that this captured that, because I really was kind of getting this, like, they're just doing this to kind of keep up with the Jones. And it totally isn't. It's a fantastic book, and it really, if you're a longtime fan, it hits a lot of notes. I don't know if you aren't, if this book is going to be enough. But, like, for me, it definitely hit everything I wanted, so.
Cool. You got a score for that book, Rob?
Gosh, I hate to do it, but I'd probably give it a 4. I enjoyed what they did with it. The artwork for it is fantastic. Really smart storytelling. Really smart way of using the past of all these characters. And I felt like everything was very organic and the characters felt very real. And this story has almost nothing to do with the fantastic idea that these guys are X-Men, or that these guys are mutants. It's just a wedding, and it really feels impactful in that way.
Cool. Josh?
I give it a 4 as well. I was stoked on it. When I read the spoiler, I actually called you about it. I was like, hey, what's the deal with this? And you're like, oh, this is happening. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And they spoiled it all over the internet, so whatever. But I love Gambit. Gambit's my favorite X-Man. Always has been. Like, even down to his suit. Like, people always kind of like try and change it because the pink is like weird, but like it's that whole color contrasting, just like Superman's underwear, like on the suit. Like, you try and take it away and it just looks odd. And so, like, and it just, but even his costume's always been super cool to me. I like it. Like, just his powers, what he's all about. And his and Rogue's, like, dynamic was always kind of interesting to me because, like, they can't really touch very much. They have periodically, but I'm not sure you know, and then like she was super into Magneto for a while, so
That was alternate universe weirdness. And I guess it did leak over a little bit.
they
in a
did
couple
it.
Books.
They did it in like when they had the island and stuff. When they had like the island,
Yeah, but they also had other crap going on too.
Yeah, no, it was a thing.
it was a full on thing.
It was weird, but it was a thing. Yeah.
Because Magneto, with his magnetic powers, was able to touch Rogue, so it was a big deal.
Right. Well, maybe being able to offset himself, that's why they made it work. I guess, I don't know, the concept of it's not the craziest thing, but whatever.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
All right, well, I follow suit with you guys. I give it a 4. No, I actually give it 4.5. I thought it was a really good book. I like the twist. I mean, I wish it wouldn't have been spoiled by the internet the day before it came out, which just seems pointless. But at the same time, it was a pretty big secret for a minute.
But if you don't know it already, you should just get the book and it'll blow your mind. It's
completely.
fantastic.
Totally worth it. Like, book-wise, it was a good book. It makes me wonder, like, how many people feel bad for missing Rogue Gambit, because it was a pretty freaking good miniseries.
Yeah.
And now we're going to Mr. and Mrs. X, and that just seems like a continuance of Rogue Gambit. So, hopefully that goes well. I mean, the art looks great for the test pages.
Yeah, I have high hopes for it. Hopefully it turns out really well. I've been reading the Rogue and Gambit series.
Yeah.
I know I haven't read the final issue. And so I don't know if there's like some big thing in there where...
Yeah, they make a reference, I think it's in issue 4, they make a reference to having bitten each other's skin.
Yeah.
They actually reference that in this issue, issue 30. They mention that, which is a direct connection to that.
Yeah, to that
Gambit
series, where they actually like relived the first time they met and the actions that were took there, and then many of the times where they've had really big conflicts. But as far as I know, like there's nothing changed with Rogue's abilities, so she's still going to have to deal with.
Yeah, power-wise, that stuff's all still an issue, but as a thing in general, they have a different understanding of each other now than they did before that miniseries.
Yes. Like, literally walked in each other's shoes.
Right. Which is pretty freaking cool. Anyway, okay, so let's move on to, we got our interview for Mairghread Scott. She's taking over the new Batgirl series, or well, not new Batgirl series, she'll be taking over the new writer on Batgirl. And awesome meeting her, really nice lady, super fun to talk to. She's got a whole bunch of other stuff going on, so enjoy this interview and look into the other work that she's put out and get ready for the new Batgirl series. Rob, roll it. Hey, this is Steve, the Top 5 Comics Podcast, here at the Denver Comic Con 2018, and I am here with...
Mairghread Scott, writer of Batgirl.
Which we just all found out about yesterday, which is awesome. So, book-wise, you've also written Transformers and a bunch of other stuff, so, like, is this your first foray for DC Comics?
It's not my first foray, it's my first, I guess, longer-term foray for DC Comics. So, last week my Green Arrow comic just came out. I'm doing a 2-parter there. So next month, look for the conclusion of that. It's Ollie versus a whole prison full of metahumans. It's fantastic. And I've also done, I was on like the Wonder Woman Anniversary Edition. I did all those great little holiday specials, which is really
holiday
fun.
specials were great, and Monsters in Love, you had a story in there?
Yes, yeah. I love those, because it's just a chance to be a little wacky, you know?
Well, they're fun, and they're like, most of them are holiday-centric or whatever, but they're still like fun, just little stories that you don't have to dig too terribly deep, but there's some awesome stories in there, because a lot of them are really deep.
Yeah, it's a great, you should pick up those little specials.
Heck yeah. Alright, so, question-wise, like, how did you decide to get into comic books? Like, writing-wise, is it something that just happened, or did you, like, where did you start, how did you get where you are?
Oh, well, I mean, I grew up on superhero cartoons, and I started reading manga in middle school, and I started reading American comics in high school, and I really wanted to write comics, and so I was pounding on the door and trying to get samples out there, and I built like a little website and everything, and I finally got my big break. I was writing a cartoon called Transformers Prime, and IDW wanted to do a comic that tied in with it, and they had hired Mike Johnson, but he knew that he wanted to work with someone, and so he co-wrote with me, and so he kind of gave me my break. So I think my first comic was Transformers Prime, Beast Hunter, Rage of the Dinobots. That was it. There's a lot of colons in Transformers comics.
That's true, there definitely is, for sure. It's because of the robots.
Yeah, exactly.
So, animation-wise, you've written a couple other episodes of animated cartoons as well. An episode for Action.
Oh, Justice League Action? Yeah, I did an episode for Justice League Action. I'm a consulting producer on the Guardians of the Galaxy cartoon. I've done some Avengers, some Spider-Man, a lot of different kinds of Transformers. And then I'm doing the new Marvel direct-to-DVD feature, Marvel Rising Secret Warriors, which is a buddy superhero movie about Squirrel Girl and Ms. Marvel.
Right, which just had the first issue of it come out this last week for the comic books. But so are you doing the scripting, storyboarding, or everything?
I did the scripting. I cannot draw at all. And people always think I'm being modest, and I'm like, no, legit.
Right on. Well, as far as other things, I mean, book-wise, you've written a couple other, like, short type, they're more kids-friendly books, I guess?
Oh, yeah. I do have a couple of graphic novels that just came out for younger readers. So I did a sort of Miyazaki fairy tale set in 1910 San Francisco. It's called The City on the Other Side. It's about a little girl named Isabel who has to stop a civil war between the fairies. And it's got, like, arrogant mushroom people and assassin mermaids and fairy Chinatown, and it's really fun. And then I did a nonfiction book that also just came out called Science, Comics, Robots, and Drones. So if you ever want to know, if you're like ever read my Transformers comics and you're like, I want to know how robots actually work, you could come read Robots and Drones.
That title is freaking awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I always say, it's Science, Comics, Robots, and Drones. It's surprisingly enough, it's about robots and also drones.
Okay, well, people want to find your books. Do you have a website?
Yeah, so I have a website. It's mscottwriter.com, and then you can also find me on Twitter and Tumblr, and you can sign up on my website for a monthly newsletter I do to let you know what's going on. So, and we try and like throw in little things. So this last month, because Batgirl had been announced, I posted up my playlist for what I used to like get in Barbara Gordon's head. So you'll get little like bonus inside tidbits on that.
Well, that's really cool. I had heard, and I don't know how true this is, because it's something I picked up off another website. So is it Sean Murphy that did the recreation for her costume? Is that right?
Yeah, Sean Murphy. Batgirl's going to get a redesign for her costume in our arc. And Sean Murphy did the redesign. So we're really excited about it. You won't see it in the first issue because we really wanted to... DC wanted, it's a new arc, it's a new look, they wanted a new costume, but they were really nice about waiting for it to be a good point in the story where it feels natural. So you won't see it in the first issue, you'll see it in the second issue.
Right. That way people can transition with it rather than being in shock.
Yeah, exactly. We wanted to make it an organic part of the story instead of just like...
Aha, new costume?
Yeah, exactly. It's Tuesday, I'm changing up my look,
Right. Well, it looks awesome. We look forward to it.
Sure.
What is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh man, I'm so bad at karaoke. I get a bunch of people and I just straight up Bohemian Rhapsody it. Because I'm like, if you can get the crowd going and there's all of you together, and I feel like everyone kind of knows that's coming at some point in the night, so I'm just going to rip that Band-Aid off and do it right away.
Okay, well, it's a good sing-along one, too.
Yeah.
All right. So, if you were stranded on a deserted island, what 5 items would you take with you? Items can also be people.
Oh, okay. Oh, items can also be people. Oh. Assuming that I have all, like, necessities of life, then I am definitely going to bring a satellite phone, and, let's see, 5 items. Gotta have a satellite phone, gotta have just a really good hammock, because you're on an island, right?
It's true, yeah.
So you gotta do that. Definitely need, like, 3 gallons of sunblock. Definitely gonna need to have like a huge keg of like really good quality beer. You gotta do like a cream ale or something light because you're in the sun.
True.
But we're gonna live this up. And then what's the last thing? Let's do War and Peace as that book you bring to make you feel fine about, like, you're like, I'm totally going to read it and this is going to work out, and then you never read it. So that's going to be my 5 items.
Well, there's nothing else. If you want me to burn something, it's got lots of pages.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Okay, we got one more. If you lived in Fantasyland, would you ride a chocolate pony?
No. That seems bad on so many levels. First of all, I sweat a little bit, so that's not going to end well for the clothes, for the pony. I'm going to end up biting that pony. That's not right, you know. That's not going to end well for anyone.
Well, plus if it gets hot, it means melting.
Yeah, if it gets hot, you know. I mean, I assume since it's a sentient piece of chocolate that it can maintain some level of coolness for itself.
We'd hope so, yes.
But God, how can you just like not try and take a bite? But then that seems so cruel,
does,
you know?
right?
Like,
well, you got to wonder if the mane is made of chocolate too, and how it would taste.
yeah. Well, I mean, I assume the mane was made of licorice. That's just where my mind was going. But
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking time to talk with us.
no, thanks for having me.
I just want to thank Mairghread again for sitting down and chit-chatting for a little bit during the Denver Comic Con. It's 2018, so look forward to her books and what's going on with that. And if you like any of the other Transformers stuff she did, you should look into some of her other school, like her other kids' books, because she got a whole line of other kids' books that are out in the world for you to check out. We have a few other interviews from Denver that we're running for you guys through the next couple episodes, so keep your ears out for those, I guess. So, Rob, what'd you learn today?
I learned that Beast and Iceman would like to be the new Fantastic Four.
That seems too simple. Oh, I guess it's true, though.
It's kind of amazing, sort of in its own way.
Marvel mocking Marvel, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, they cooked up other names in there that were equally ridiculous, but I mean, Beast and Iceman were, you know, well, no, I guess it was Iceman and Angel that were part of the Defenders team that was just crazy.
That's true, yeah.
But
it wasn't Beast. He was always part of
he was a part of the Avengers.
Avengers, yep.
Yeah.
That's all right. At least we didn't get to Iceman and Iceman, which is the story I dread. Josh, what'd you learn today?
I learned a lot. Do you want me to just pick one thing, or do you want me to just go?
Pick one thing, yeah.
Oh. Well, I learned that you guys don't let me have any fun because we have to always have secrets in books and not tell people about them. And I wanted to just be able to talk about all these interesting things and the things in the books that you guys were like, oh, we can't talk about that. And I'm like, fine. I
don't really think that's a learning thing that's happened before.
So the next episode I'm going to be like, hey, so since everybody's probably read those things from a couple episodes ago, let's talk about that real quick because I really wanted to talk about both of those things.
That's not really a thing you learn, though.
I learned that. I learned that you guys are fun killers. Especially you. I also found out that you hate comic books. CBS.
It's not true either.
It is. You're like, I hate newsprint. I hate blah blah.
That's not true. I didn't say I hate newsprint. I don't like cheap newsprint. Okay, that's not at all. See, this is why he wonders why. Why do I get invitations all the time? I'm like, this is why.
I don't ever say that
all the time. Man, Rob, what did I learn today?
You learned that Wang still means penis, and that Plastic Man may be able to manipulate the size of his junk.
I should have realized I was going to come back to that as soon as I said that.
Off camera.
It's in the book.
It's true.
It's true. I only feel kind of bad for that. Man, that's a terrible thing to learn.
A lot of people are talking about that.
Okay.
It's implied.
As long as I'm not the only one talking about it, I guess it's
a lot
fine. Of people. All right. So books to watch. Rob, you got any suggestions or books to watch?
I guess we're actually wrapping up X-Men Blue and possibly X-Men Gold. So I actually think this is the final issue for X-Men Gold. But X-Men Blue, I believe, is being wrapped up as we speak. So
you're saying get the end of those books?
Yeah, pick up the end of X-Men Blue. It's actually started to get really, really good. I don't know what we're going to do with the time displaced X-Men, but also, take a look if you're in the X-verse, I guess now we need to look for Mr. and Mrs. X as it comes out. Cable's actually been super legit. I think that one's going to wrap pretty soon, unfortunately.
Most Legacy titles are stopping, either restarting or just ending and then rebranding.
I think I've actually really enjoyed the Champions, so I think that's going to be continuing to be a really good story. I like Dark Hawk, so keep an eye out for that.
Okay.
And then over on the other side, Birthright has been fantastic. Wayward has come back recently and I think is doing really well, so I think that's still one to check out. And then East to West. So
cool.
Yeah.
Mr. Josh?
I'm excited for Fantastic Four.
Looks good. The couple pieces they put out art-wise. I'm sure they're covers, but they still looked good.
I like the Marvel Infinity Countdown stuff a lot. I like the new iteration of Adam Warlock. I think it's pretty cool. That's really it right now.
I guess it's just like an addendum. Like, if you like Fantastic Four, please go buy the book. Show them that you like the Fantastic Four. Don't just say, "Oh, I like them," and then not buy the book.
No. It'd be helpful if you want to keep them around. I mean, they did cancel the series for a reason.
Yeah. And it wasn't just that they didn't have the movie rights. I mean, that didn't help.
No.
But there was another reason. It probably had to do with sales.
Probably.
And not happening.
All right. Well, suggestion-wise, I would give you guys Avengers. Like, it's been great so far. The new current run Avengers.
Oh, yeah, that is fantastic.
Yeah, it's been really good. I like that a lot. Pretty happy with Venom. Donny Cates. Venom's been great. I actually got to chit-chat with him for a second over in Denver as well. Unfortunately, not an interview, because the guy was super busy. But, cool book. Current Batman's great. Can't say enough good things about Tom King right now. Like, person-wise, that dude's a great guy. I was going to say there's Black Science. Still going strong, still good. I mean, awesome art, great stories.
And of course, at the time of this, that Batman Catwoman is still a thing, so it still hasn't happened yet.
Well, the issue 50 hasn't dropped yet, huh?
Yeah.
Like, it comes out in 2 weeks. So that should be really neat. Pretty excited for the Catwoman Joelle Jones books, which is going to come out shortly after that. So Joelle doing her own book for Catwoman, writer and artist. So I think that'll be great, because I love her art. She's an awesome lady, great writer, cool person. Super excited about that, actually, just because of her being so awesome.
And I don't know, it seemed like it to me. You guys might know more than me, but it seems like maybe DC may, fingers crossed. I read the end of one of the Batman books where Stephanie and Tim like kind of go off into the sunset to go like do their own thing together. That might be kind of cool if they eventually got their own book. I don't know if that'll happen, but that may be kind of cool. They're both kind of due.
I think it'd be neat if we got a spoiler Robin book. They definitely did some stuff in Detective where they got them to see some of the history they don't have anymore. Like, visually, they're allowed to watch some of it. So that could lead to something, I guess. So far, we haven't heard anything about it, but it'd be cool if it did. Because both those characters are due at this point to have their own thing.
The reimagining of Stephanie Brown is good, but Tim has had issues, so hopefully...
No, I've gotten better lately.
They brought back the proper Superman. If they could just fix Tim, then it'll be A-okay with DC again.
That would be crazy, wouldn't it be? If we had two Tims all of a sudden, and then New 52 Tim died, and it absorbed.
You shut up. You just shut up.
It'd be too out of control. It'd be too much.
Just shut up. I think that's enough for both your nonsense. Well, thanks for listening, guys.
Got a lot of hate in your heart today.
Always. Heaping amounts of it. It's terrible. If I could have any color ring, unfortunately it'd be red. And red doesn't go good on me. It makes my face glow funny.
You're always a little pink.
Well, because I don't know. It was because the sun, man. My skin is not good for the sun.
Well, I'm orange, so I'm in that same boat.
I don't know. That's a different kind of thing.
We actually had a legitimate guy who was like, "Yeah, I think I'd be purple." And I was like, "No." I kind of thought about it and I was like,
Which one's purple? Compassion?
Yeah, no.
Without being overridden. He'd be like legitimate compassion instead of like prisoner compassion.
No.
But I know I'd be orange.
That's what you get. Taki. Yeah, Taki.
Mm-mm.
One of these days you'll understand.
Never gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
You and old man Mike.
You guys let me ruin stuff for people and I'll do it.
It's not the same thing.
You're already doing that.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Ruining things for
Yeah,
people?
we're already spoiling books for people.
Yeah, we are, for sure.
We're just holding some back. Some spoiling.
It's the only two things I want to talk about. I'll hold back.